If I had to pick one dish or recipe that saw me through my student years, it would be omelette. It's so versatile, it's super quick, it's very nutritious, and most importantly, it's very easy. We're going to start with 2 eggs. You could obviously use more eggs if you're cooking for more than one person. The way I teach my students how to crack eggs, if they're not very adept at it, is to listen for the sound. So be very quiet when you tap it on the side of a hard bowl or pan. And then you can actually hear the crack. Then you just want to do another few little taps to make sure there's enough space for you to get your thumb in on that side and on the other side. But now the trick is to actually flip it over so that when you pull the 2 halves apart, it goes straight into your bowl and doesn't run all over your hands, which is what often happens when people aren't too familiar with cracking eggs. Let's do another one. There's enough space for both my thumbs to go in. I flip it over and I pull the 2 halves apart. There you go, easy as pie. Now, omelettes, you can either add a splash of milk, a bit of water, or some cream, depending on how luxurious you want it to taste. I normally use water. I actually find it makes it slightly more fluffy. And also, I very rarely have fresh milk in the fridge, which might be the case when you're studying as well. So have a look. It's just a little splash, maybe like a tablespoon's worth, just to loosen up the egg mixture a little bit. If you add too much liquid, what you're frying in the pan is almost like an egg soup and it won't set properly, so be sure not to add too much of the liquid. Now we're going to give it a good whisk. Your whisking technique will definitely improve with time, but a few tips and tricks. If you hold your bowl with your one hand and you tilt it upwards a bit away from you, then all your liquid will pool on one side, which will make it slightly easier. Now, I like my omelette well mixed. I know there are some people, especially in France maybe, where they just give it a stir and you can still see bits of egg white and egg yolk. That's fine if you like it that way. I like it a little bit more homogeneous, so it's all one light yellow color. We're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper and some snipped chives. I personally think an omelette without some kind of herbs it's a little bit boring. So you can either add some basil or maybe pesto, definitely some chives. And I'm going to use my kitchen shears to do that really easily. Can you see I'm just snipping off tiny bits? And I would do the whole bunch actually if it was my omelette. You can also use some, have you heard of chervil? It's a really nice, fresh, soft herb that you can use, some chopped chervil. I'm gonna add some salt and some pepper. Now, this is the fun bit, what you put inside or what you top it with. There are so many alternatives. I like cold sliced potatoes, cooked potatoes, peppers, halved cherry tomatoes. You can use pesto, like I said, some grated cheese. If you're dairy-free, you could use things like cooked spinach or cooked mushrooms. You can add some caramelized onions. There's so many options to make it a really lovely, filling meal. Right, and then we're going to go over and cook this one. Right, now we're ready to fry our omelette. I'm busy heating in a medium-sized frying pan just a little bit of butter. If you're dairy-free, you could use olive oil or any of your favorite cooking oils. I wanted to also chat to you about the type of frying pan I'm using. Like with most of my kitchen utensils, I prefer stainless steel. The stainless steel pans are the healthiest option because they don't have any chemicals that can be released into the food like non-stick pans. You want your pan on a medium-high heat until it's really nice and hot. When you pour in your egg mixture, you want to hear a very good sizzle. After that, we can turn it down a bit as we don't want it to burn on the bottom and not be cooked on top. Let's wait just for it to heat up a little bit. I normally test it by just holding my hand over the pan, and if I can feel a good heat coming off it, I know it's ready. You can also take a look at the butter or the oil in the pan, how it's behaving. Oil, when it's hot, becomes really liquid and moves around easily, and the butter will start browning, and then you know your pan is very hot. You can spread around the butter a little bit. Right, I think we're almost there, not quite yet. The problem with the stainless steel pan, just remember sometimes the handles are also made of stainless steel and they can get quite hot depending on what you've been cooking and for how long you've been cooking. So it helps having a tea towel handy in case you think the handle will get hot. Right, I can see a bit of browning in the butter, so I'm going to add my egg mixture now. Let's listen for that nice sizzle. There you go, that sounds good. If it makes bubbles, that's a good sign. It just means the steam has immediately started rising and creating those bubbles. At this point, add whatever toppings you would like to add. If it is something that would create a lot of moisture, going from uncooked to cooked like spinach, I would recommend cooking it in advance, so spinach and mushrooms particularly. But most other things you can add, like chopped raw peppers or tomatoes even are fine. There you go. I'm only putting my toppings on one side as I'm going to fold my omelette over when it's ready. And if I put it everywhere, it might drop off or fall off. To encourage cooking, we're going to add a lid. Or if you have an oven with a really effective grill, you can just pop it under the grill. The benefit of putting it under a grill in the oven is that it will brown slightly, so look quite golden and toasty, which is nice if you, for example, want to have an open omelette and you slide it onto a plate that way and maybe top it with some really nice fresh rocket or basil, almost like a pizza. It's really good. But if you want it folded over, you might as well keep it in the pan on the stove. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit. I don't want it to burn at the bottom. There you go, so it's on a medium heat now. And this takes about 1 to 2 minutes, depending on how much egg and how much topping you've got in there. We only have the cheese, so it should be relatively quick. Oh, we're very nearly there. As you can see, that side is also set, but this side is still a bit runny, so I'm going to just leave it in for another half a minute. You don't want to overcook your omelette because it'll go very rubbery. In France, actually, they would serve it like this almost, with a little bit of a runny side to it, which is, I guess, like having an egg soft boiled rather than medium. Right, our omelette should be ready now. Let's have a look. Yep, that looks delicious. We're going to just flip it over. If you have a really full omelette, it might be a bit harder to get it out of the pan. Let's see, I just want to fold it over like that. There you go. And then we're going to slide it onto our plate. You can fold it once or twice. You can do a three-folded omelette like that, and then serve it with your garnishes. Easy and delicious.